Now, in the third stage of cognitive development, this one is called concrete operations. You'll see here it's approximately 7 when they reach the age of 7 until they reach the age of 11. And this one, what they're doing in this stage is they are gaining the ability to work with concrete mental operations, not abstract yet, just concrete. Okay, so things that you can touch and smell and taste and so on, right? See, but not those abstract things. Okay. So the stage of concrete operations, kids have usually achieved something called conservation at this stage. So notice an important difference. These first two, we listed limitations. Now, starting with concrete operations and ending with the next stage, these last two stages are characterized not by what kids lack, but instead what they gain. So conservation is something that kids tend to gain um, in this stage. So kids usually have achieved conservation by this stage, and what this means is that they are able to understand that just because the shape of something changes doesn't necessarily mean that the amount has changed. So I'm going to give you an example, my favorite example on video. It's an example of a little girl in the pre-operational stage, a stage before this one up here, right? Who has not yet developed this idea of conservation.
Can you look at these two glasses? Do you think that they have the same amount of juice? You think they have the same? Okay. Now we're going to pour this juice into this glass. Now, do you think that this glass has more juice, this glass has more juice, or do you think that they have the same amount?
That one has more.
This one has more, and why do you think that this one has more?
Because it's taller.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more quarters, or do they have the same?
1, 2, 3. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're both the same.
They're the same?
5, 5.
Okay. Okay. Does this row have more quarters? Does this row have more, or do they have the same?
This one has more.
That one has more quarters?
Yeah.
Why does this row have more quarters?
Because it's more far away.
It's more far away?
Yeah, it's more far away than that. Looks like bigger.
All right, we're going to play a game with the graham crackers, and we're going to share them between me and you, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Do you think that we shared those fairly?
No.
No, why not?
You have those and I have this one.
Well, what if we try this? Okay, can I put this down right there?
Okay.
Now is it fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, why is it fair now?
Because we both have two.
All right. So usually by this concrete operation stage, though, you could test them on this and they would then know because they have gained conservation. So very fun if you have siblings or perhaps nieces or nephews that you can test, see if they've gained these particular abilities yet in their cognitive development. So if you did this water glass demo, for instance, with a kid who is in the concrete operation stage or more, they would likely look at you pretty incredulously and say something like, "Of course it's the same amount, I just saw you pour it," right? So by this stage, they've achieved conservation. Kids are also no longer limited by centration at this stage, so they can think about more than one thing at a time, including hierarchies, right? So now if you ask them, if they have a co-ed class and you ask them if there are more kids or boys in their class, they might look at you oddly because obviously, there's more kids. Boys is just a subcategory of that, right? They might even roll their eyes. Now, the last stage, again, characterized here by what they gain, okay? Formal operations, the age range here is from the time they reach 11 through adolescence. That's all. So what they're doing here is they're learning abstract thinking. They're learning to be able to think abstractly. They're gaining that ability of abstract thinking. So instead of just thinking about things that they can see and touch and smell and hear and so on, now they can think about those great concepts like love and justice and free will and who am I and where am I going in life, right? They are also, this stage is characterized by logic and systematic thinking. And when I say logic, I'm talking if-then type of thinking. If this, then that, right? And systematic thinking, so the ability to think things through, visualize different solutions or different reactions to something and different possible consequences down the road in the future, right? Okay, now in order to understand the impact of exploitative marketing, we also need to understand Maslow's needs. Then we'll go back and apply it to all of this to exploitative marketing. Okay, so a very famous humanistic psychologist, Abraham Maslow, proposed these universal human needs. So let's start at the lowest of this hierarchy. So notice it is a hierarchy. Okay, also notice the shape of it, right? It's shaped like a pyramid, and the reason it is that not everybody will reach the top. Everybody will reach that first stage, and most people will reach a second and third, but not everybody goes much higher than that. In fact, a lot of people will never reach the very top, even throughout their whole lifetime. So we're going to start here at the bottom with physiological needs, and this is the need for food and water. Okay, sometimes it's called a maintenance need because what do you need to stay alive? This one and the next one, right, are both maintenance needs, because the next one, safety, is a need for shelter from the elements, predators, etc. So having a home would help to satisfy that need, and insurance can help to satisfy it. But once you get past these physiological needs, these physical needs, you might say, the first two, then you get to the rest of them, which are psychological needs. Okay, so the next one up here is social. Social needs, the need to affiliate with other people, the need to feel like you belong in a group or groups, like maybe your family and your close friends. The next one is a need for esteem, and this is a need for respect from others. Okay, need for respect from others. The next one you might be a little hard to read, but this is cognitive. And cognition means thought processes, right? So this is like the need to think. In other words, the need to learn, the need to constantly develop and expand your mind, the need to use your brain. All of these needs, are crucial in life. But some people never go much farther up the ladder than this. This next one is aesthetic needs. And aesthetic needs are the need for a special kind of beauty, usually that come through certain kinds of art, what are actually called highbrow arts because they're usually expensive. But in this case, we're defining them as the arts where you really need to develop a taste for them. You need to study them and develop a taste for them. Usually, unless you're born in a family where you're surrounded by this, one of these, and your family is teaching you this appreciation very early, it's something that people usually develop later in life, and again, may not at all reach as high in the ladder. Examples would be like poetry, classical music, ballet, art, so on, right? And then we have at the very top the need for essay, that self-actualization. The need for self-actualization, being all that you can be. Maslow claimed that very tiny percentage of people reach that within their lifetime. So notice again that the bottom of these are physical needs, these two on the bottom, and that the rest of these are psychological needs. Maslow posited that although these are all important needs throughout our lifetime, no matter how long we live, we begin this journey by working our way up the ladder systematically. In other words, not moving on till the next until a need is fully satisfied. And you know, that part is a little controversial as far as not all psychologists believe that a need has to be completely satisfied before we move up to another one, or that we're only working on one at a time. However, one thing is perfectly clear, that these lower needs, the lower psychological ones like social needs and self-esteem needs, are likely to be especially important to children. So more important to children than adults.